Ladies and gents, once again welcome back. My name's James, and today in this video I want to take a look forward to season 5.5. It's just around the corner with Rogue, the new hero, releasing very soon. First of all, I just want to give a huge thank you to all of the support on my last Rivals video. I did ask you guys to leave likes and comments, and you really showed up. I do and have read all of the comments. The conversation has been really refreshing and positive to dive into, and I honestly never thought that that video would do as well as it has done, so it's honestly been a really nice surprise to see. But now back to the main topic of this video. With the new half season approaching, it's normally around this time when heroes receive some tweaks to their balance as the metas start to form. NetEase generally does do a good job in terms of shaking things up to keep things feeling fresh and listening to their community. The last patch, in my opinion, has been one of the best ones, mostly positive, with a lot of heroes getting the buffs they need, especially when it comes to the certain tanks and healers. I think it was much needed as tank players especially are a dying breed. Now, for what I want to see from the new patch is the heroes that were neglected in the last patch. They need to be brought up to the same level as some of the other heroes. For example, Blade, Hulk, Human Torch and Ultron. They either haven't been touched or they've lost certain team-ups, which has made them less viable altogether. Which, although they maybe weren't directly nerfed, having these similar heroes buffed has caused this weird power shift, imbalance, power creep, and has left them behind in the meta. First of all, the big one, I want to take a moment to talk about Blade. Blade is arguably the coolest hero to be added to Rivals since release. And yes, I'm being biased, the man is just basically pure aura. But for a man called Blade, he really does not live up to that name in this game. His shotgun is the most reliable damage dealer at the medium range, similar to Bucky's pistol. However, this gun also has a sweet spot mechanic where if the enemy is too close or too far, the damage just drops off a cliff. Which, again, that incentivizes you to switch to his blade. Only when you do so, if you aren't being pocket healed, or you're fighting in a fight against maybe one or two more heroes, you will end up dying very quick. His sword simply doesn't do enough damage. The fact that you can use his sword outside of his vampiric state at all is baffling, given the lack of damage it provides. The only viable way to use a sword is in that state, where again you receive a massive debuff to the amount of healing you can receive. The benefits of the lifesteal, most of the time, if you're against a decent player, he'll take advantage of the fact that you have that reduced heal and overpower you, especially in quick play when, let's just say, the standard of healing, you can really feel the difference and the quality of those heals. You'll end up dying very quickly in most fights. Which means the current way to play Blade is to use his gun to farm up his ult. You ult into the back line, hack and slash until you either kill their supports or you just die because you're too deep, you're out of position. The anti-heal his ult gives was and is still very useful, especially against triple support or even triple tank comps, as rare as they can be. Now, don't get me wrong, since Blade's release, he has gotten a solid stream of buffs to make him bearable. But since Season 5 dropped, there's been less and less reasons to play him over just plain better picks. His ultimate ability and his kit used to be a thing that set him apart and made him unique, both in his lifesteal and the life reduction he gave to other players. But NetEase has now added these abilities to a number of other heroes. Venom, for example, now applies the same anti-heal effect in his ult, as does the Thing's Leap when he leaps at other enemies, and the Namor Hela team up as well. What made Blade's ultimate unique is now something that both Namor and Thing can do outside of their ults. Blade's other unique ability is his passive lifesteal when in his vampiric state, but again, Wolverine with the Phoenix team up grants Wolverine this lifesteal. Not only does he not have the debuff from the reduced healing, he has an ability that he reduces incoming damage. So what's left that makes Blade unique then? Well, his parry for one and his long dashes. But again, with NetEase, they've decided to make this obsolete as well. With the release of Daredevil in the last season, okay, I'll admit his ability is more of a deflect and not a parry, but I would argue that a deflect ability is much more useful to the team, as not only does it last longer than his half a second window to parry, Daredevil's being able to deflect a Mantis Sleep, to deflect a Maggle, an Iron Man ult, is infinitely more useful to both himself and his team than just parrying the effect or reducing the damage for yourself as Blade. To cap things off as well, Daredevil also has 2 movement abilities that allow him to dash and close distances, those being his tracking ability and his grappling hook, both of which give him more energy for his damage abilities. It is amazing how quickly within his season NetEase has treated Blade, who when he was released was pretty okay. He wasn't the best DPS by any means, but played well in certain situations. He did pop off. So now I just can't recommend anyone playing Blade outside of maybe the zombies mode, where they actually gave him the power he needs, or in quick play. The contrast in NetEase being cautious with not making Blade OP, and then releasing arguably one of the most powerful dive heroes in Daredevil, is really quite baffling despite Daredevil's nerfs. It's one thing to just sit here and complain all day. How would I actually fix this? Well, they could do one or two things to change this. One of which is just removing these team-ups that provide these anti-heal and lifesteals, with the Hela Namor team-up and the Phoenix and Wolverine. I understand they won't always be in the game anyway. The only other thing they could do is he just needs a complete rework of his kit, especially with his vampiric state. One idea I've got is like a timed ability, whether that's he has like a super long cooldown, or he has a currency similar to Gambit's currency that he needs a certain amount of to activate. A lore accurate way of doing this could be his serum that gives him strength that charges over time, again similar to Gambit. This would be an ability, when activated, it would boost his damage and boost his lifesteal a lot more than it does at the moment. This would allow you to use it strategically in situations. For example, if a Venom is diving your backline, you'd be able to activate it and instantly punish and burst down dives like that. I understand that a rework would take considerable time to implement, so my other solution would be to reduce or just outright remove the fact he has this reduced healing. This would transform how he plays and make him feel more like a pseudo tank like Mr. Fantastic. Another hero that needs a serious buff is Ultron. Ultron at the moment is just a throw pick, even in triple support. And again, that's no fault to his own really, it's just that other heroes are much stronger now, especially Inviswoman, with her ability to shield herself, her utility, and other buffs, especially with how good Gambit has been out of the gate. Gambit does good damage, good heals, good utility, and I feel like that's what Ultron should have been when he first came out. Ultron's recent nerf as well is a bit of a head scratcher. He's now in this weird place where he doesn't do great damage and he doesn't do great healing. I feel like they missed a lot of potential in his character with his kit, where they could have played a lot more with the fact that, you know, he's this sort of super hive mind AI with all these different Ultrons. You only really see this in his ult with his multiple Ultrons. He just doesn't output enough healing to warrant him being a healer, doesn't output enough damage to warrant him being a DPS, and I think a return to how he was around launch would be a good start given the current meta. The recent nerf to Ultron was a bit of a head scratcher as well. He's now in this weird place where he doesn't do great healing enough to be a DPS, he doesn't do great healing enough to be in like a dual healer comp or a triple healer comp. I think a good start would be for him just to return how he was when he first came out given the current meta, and then go from there. Similarly, the Human Torch, man, where do I begin? I feel like he was super dominant and now he's just fallen off the face of the earth. I feel like he still has a place. It just feels like his normal attack now is more of a tickle, and I feel like his ult maybe needs to do more, whether that's faster damage, a bit like Storm Salt or Moon Knight's ult. I also just feel like he's very easy to take down, especially in his ult. If you've got a Hela Phoenix on your team, they make light work of him. I don't think it would take much for him to be good again. I just think back to how the small buffs to Hawkeye has meant he's now seen more and more in games. I feel like maybe they could bring a team up with him, maybe a team up with Luna Snow, a bit of like ice and fire. That could be an interesting mix. Maybe giving him an ability to stun or lock down heroes. It's just an idea, but I'm sure he'll see a buff in 5.5. And last but not least, we've got Hulk. Now I think Hulk for the past year has been a team up merchant. This season he doesn't really have a good one. Yes, the Black Panther one is very situational, but because of the nerfs he's received, he's just not being picked. It's made Hulk a lot less viable, especially when you've got the buffs to Magneto, Emma, especially Angela now. They all feel a lot stronger. Now don't get me wrong, I still think a really good Hulk can still terrorise lobbies. As I've mentioned before in this video though, the quality of healing in quick play especially almost feels like a throw pick now over most of the other tanks that have shields, have stronger utility. Match that for the fact that more and more heroes have CC abilities. Hulk is just super exposed to most of these. All in all though, these are just some of my picks. I think for Hulk, he just needs maybe a longer shield for his bubble, or just a better team up. Maybe one that gives him an extra ability rather than him just being an anchor. These are just some of my nitpicks of certain heroes that I still love to play, and I still do play these heroes in quick play regardless, just because they're fun heroes. But you'd be hard pressed and maybe even reported to pull these out in ranks sometimes. I do think they're meta at the moment and the balance is in a really good place, and I do hope with the addition of Rogue and the possibility of her becoming a tank is really interesting. At the time of recording there's been no info on her yet, but the game is in desperate need of tank players, so I'm hoping it'll be a positive addition paired again with some of these good balance tweaks. Let me know if I've missed anyone out or who you'd like to see buffed or nerfed. Again, I touched upon Black Panther. I do think again that Daredevil has sort of taken his place as well, but let me know. Once again, massive thank you to those who have watched and supported in the last video. Please do keep liking and commenting down below, as I do read and react to each and every one. So once again, that's enough waffling. I've been James, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.